Homeless girl finds a man pushing elderly woman in a wheelchair towards a cliff. But when she tries to help, a millionaire appears and something shocking happens. Comment. What you think will happen? Your opinion is very important. And subscribe to my channel to support my work. Your help is greatly appreciated. The rain hammered the wet asphalt of Cascade Falls with an insistence that seemed intent on washing away all the sadness in the world. Lily, only 6 years old, huddled behind the thick trunk of an old oak tree that dominated the park overlook, her small, freezing fingers tightly clutching the plastic bag where she kept the few soda cans she had managed to scavenge that grey July afternoon. Her brown hair stuck to her small face, and her large, dark eyes nervously watched the sparse movement of people sheltering under the awnings of nearby stores. Her stomach had been growling for hours, but she had learned to ignore the hunger. It was just another constant companion, like the cold that crept up through the holes in the soles of her worn-out sneakers. From the overlook, even with the rain, it was possible to see the famous waterfalls that gave the town its name, cascades of water plunging from the dark rocks, creating a natural symphony that tourists loved to photograph on sunny days. But today, there were no tourists. Only the sound of falling water and the relentless rain. Lily was about to leave her hiding place when she heard voices approaching. Instinctively, she pressed herself further against the trunk of the tree, becoming almost invisible among the exposed roots. She had learned early on that it was best not to be seen when adults were arguing angrily. "I can't take this anymore, Grandma Dot." The male voice echoed furiously through the rain. "Don't you understand I need this money now? David, my grandson, for the love of God." The elderly woman's voice trembled, but there was a firmness in it that caught Lily's attention. "I've told you 1,000 times I'm not selling the property. It's all that's left of our family." Lily cautiously peeked out from behind the tree and saw a scene that made her heart race. A dark-haired man wearing a soaked jacket was pushing a wheelchair in which sat a white-haired woman. They were walking dangerously close to the edge of the overlook, where a low iron railing was the only protection against a drop of more than 150 feet. "Who's the property going to go to, Grandma?" David's voice had changed, becoming lower, more threatening. "Those street urchins you defend so much, while your own family goes without. My dear, you don't want for anything. You have a gambling problem. That's what you want me to believe you need the money for." Dot tried to turn the chair, but David firmly gripped her wrists. "And I've already decided what to do with my money." What Lily saw next made her blood run cold. David positioned the wheelchair even closer to the railing, his hands trembling with anger, gripping the chair's handle so tightly that his knuckles turned white. "Then maybe it's better if you're not here to see what that decision leads to," he muttered, and began to push the chair towards the precipice. "David, what are you doing?" Dot's scream cut through the air like a blade, mingling with the sound of the rain and the waterfalls in the background. For an instant that seemed to last an eternity, Lily was paralyzed. Her huge eyes captured every detail of that terrible scene. The tears of panic streaming down Dot's wrinkled face, the expression of desperate determination on David's face, the wheelchair approaching dangerously the edge where the railing was visibly damaged. "Help! Someone, please!" Lily's cry tore through the silence, even before she realized she had left her hiding place. David turned sharply, his eyes meeting the girl's. For a moment, predator and prey stared at each other through the curtain of rain. Then, as if awakened from a trance, he released the wheelchair and ran, disappearing among the trees of the park. Lily ran as she had never run in her life. Her small legs slipped on the wet ground, but she didn't stop until she reached Dot's side, who was trembling violently in the wheelchair, still dangerously close to the damaged edge. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" The words tumbled out of Lily's mouth as she tried to pull the chair away from the precipice with her child's strength. Dot looked at that wet, skinny girl who had appeared like an angel in the midst of the storm, and felt a mixture of gratitude and horror at what she had just experienced. "My dear, my saviour," she whispered, extending a trembling hand to touch Lily's cold face. "You saved me." It was at that moment that a third voice joined the scene. "My God, what happened here?" Lily turned and saw a tall man with greying temples, wearing a dark overcoat and carrying a black umbrella. His eyes were gentle, but widened with concern as he saw the two there, in the pouring rain, so close to danger. "Please, help her," Lily pleaded, pointing to Dot. A man tried to push her down there." Arthur Hayes didn't hesitate for a second. He dropped the umbrella, picked up Lily in one arm, and with the other began to push Dot's chair toward a safe place, away from the treacherous edge of the overlook. "It's okay. You're safe now," he said, his firm voice trying to convey calm, while his mind processed the gravity of what the girl had just reported. "Let's get out of this rain and see if anyone needs medical attention." But as he sheltered those two fragile figures under the awning of the nearest diner, Arthur couldn't stop looking at the street girl who had risked her own safety to save a stranger. There was something in those dark eyes that touched him deeply, an intelligence and courage that didn't match her age or her apparent state of abandonment. And while Dot tried to explain between sobs what had happened, Lily remained silent, observing everything with an attention that seemed to record every detail in her memory. She didn't know it yet, but she had just witnessed something that would change not only her life, but the lives of everyone there. The rain continued to fall on Cascade Falls, but for Lily, Dot, and Arthur, the world would never be the same. The Cascade Falls Community Hospital was busy for a Tuesday late afternoon. Arthur held Lily's small, cold hand as they accompanied the gurney where Dot was being taken to the emergency room. The girl hadn't let go of him since they left the overlook, and her large eyes didn't stop observing every movement around them. "Doctor, the patient shows signs of shock and possible trauma to the shoulder area," informed the nurse to the attending physician, a young man in a white coat who immediately began to examine Dot. "Ma'am, can you tell me your full name?" asked the doctor, checking the elderly woman's reflexes. Dot Ferreira," she replied in a weak voice, but her eyes constantly searched for Lily. Where is the girl who saved me?" "I'm here," said Lily, letting go of Arthur's hand and approaching the gurney. "Are you going to be okay?" The doctor looked surprised at that wet, ragged child who spoke with such concern. "And you are—" "Her name is Lily," Arthur interrupted. "She was the one who rescued Mrs. Ferreira and alerted me to what had happened." While the doctors took care of Dot, Arthur took Lily to the waiting room. For the first time, he was able to better observe the girl who had become a heroine that afternoon. Her brown hair was tangled and dirty, her clothes too small and patched in several places. But what was most striking were her eyes, intelligent, alert, as if they were constantly analyzing and storing information. "Lily, can you tell me exactly what you saw at the overlook?" asked Arthur, squatting down to her height. The girl hesitated for a moment, biting her lower lip. She was used to distrusting adults, especially those well-dressed ones who asked a lot of questions. "The man was mad at Grandma," she began, using the affectionate term naturally. "He wanted her to sell something, but she didn't want to. Then he pushed her chair close to the broken railing." "Did you know this man? Had you seen him before?" Lily closed her eyes, as if reviewing the scene in her mind with cinematic precision. "He was tall, about your height. He had dark hair, kind of wavy, and a small scar here," she said, touching her own left eyebrow. "His jacket was dark blue, with a tiny hole in the right pocket, and he smelled like cigarettes, but also like something sweet, like peppermint candy." Arthur was impressed by the wealth of detail the girl was able to provide. It was as if she had mentally photographed every aspect of the scene. "You have an incredible memory," he said, genuinely admiring. "I need to remember everything," Lily replied simply. "On the streets, those who forget the dangerous things don't survive very long." The coldness with which a 6-year-old spoke about survival made Arthur's heart clench. Before he could ask more questions, a nurse approached. "Sir, can you come, please? The patient is asking to speak with you." Dot was lying in a bed in the emergency room, her right arm immobilized and some bandages on her face where she had been injured during the scare. When she saw Lily approach, her eyes filled with tears. "My little warrior," she whispered, "you saved my life." "You were in danger," Lily replied, approaching the bed. "I couldn't let him hurt you." "Mrs. Ferreira," Arthur interjected, "the girl said that the man who attacked you seemed to know you. She called you Grandma." Dot's face darkened, and she closed her eyes as if a deep pain ran through her. "It was my grandson, David. My own blood tried—" Her voice failed, and she needed a few moments to compose herself. "He wanted you to sell something?" asked Lily, her childlike curiosity mixed with genuine concern. "The family property. It's 15 acres of land that belonged to my late husband and now are mine. David, he has problems with gambling, betting. He always asks me for money and I always help. But selling the land—" Dot shook her head. "That land will be destined to help children like you, my dear." Arthur was touched by the revelation. A woman who had just suffered an attempted assault by her own grandson was still thinking about helping abandoned children. "Mrs. Ferreira, do you have a place to stay? Family that can take care of you?" he asked. "David was the only family I had left," she said, a tear rolling down her wrinkled face. "My daughter, his mother, left us 5 years ago. Since then it's just me and him, or it was until today." The nurse approached again. "Sorry to interrupt, but we need information about the girl too. Is she accompanied by any guardian?" The silence that followed was heavy. Lily lowered her eyes, and Arthur felt a lump in his throat as he realized the reality of the situation. "I take care of myself," Lily said, with an impressive dignity for her age. "Honey, you can't take care of yourself." "You're a child," said the nurse, gently but firmly. "Actually," Arthur interrupted, surprising himself, "she's with me. I'm going to take care of her." Lily looked at him with a mixture of surprise and distrust. She was used to adults who made empty promises, or who wanted something in return for every gesture of kindness. "You don't even know me," she said, testing his intentions. "And you saved my life," Dot said, reaching out to touch Arthur's arm. "If this good man is offering help, maybe it's the protection you need, my little one." Arthur looked at that brave girl who had risked everything to save a stranger and felt something move in his chest. He had lost his wife 3 years ago in a traffic accident, and since then, he and his daughter Valerie had lived a quiet but empty life in many respects. "Lily, I have a big house, hot food, and a daughter who might like to have a younger sister for a while," he said carefully. "It's not a promise forever, but it's a safe place while we figure out what's best for you." The girl was silent for a long moment, her eyes analyzing every expression on Arthur's face, looking for signs of lying or bad intentions. "Will your daughter like me?" she asked finally. Arthur hesitated. Valerie was going through the typical rebellious phase of 16 years old, and he had no idea how she would react to a street child appearing at home. "She'll learn to like you," he said, hoping he was right. When they left the hospital 2 hours later, with Dot admitted for observation and Lily timidly holding Arthur's hand, neither of them imagined that this impulsive decision would completely change their lives. The drive to Arthur's house was silent. Lily watched through the car window the beautiful houses in the residential neighborhood, so different from the places where she used to sleep. When they stopped in front of a 2-story house with a well-kept garden, she felt a mixture of admiration and intimidation. "Here it is," said Arthur, turning off the engine. "My house. Our house, at least for now." But as they approached the door, both could hear loud music coming from inside the house, and Arthur sighed, knowing that Valerie was in one of her rebellious moods. "My daughter is sometimes difficult," he admitted to Lily, "but she has a good heart." What neither of them expected was to find that the hardest part of the night was still to come. The music coming from inside the house was a heavy rock that made the windows vibrate. Arthur sighed deeply before putting the key in the lock, preparing for a conversation he knew would be difficult. Lily walked beside him, her big eyes absorbing every detail of the house that could become her temporary home. "Valerie!" Arthur shouted as soon as they entered, trying to override his voice to the sound of the music. "Valerie, turn that sound down!" A music stopped abruptly, and heavy footsteps descended the wooden staircase that led to the second floor. Valerie Hayes appeared at the top of the stairs, a 16-year-old with straight black shoulder-length hair, wearing dark clothes and an expression of teenage annoyance typical of her age. "Dad, you're attractin'." She stopped mid-sentence when she saw Lily next to Arthur. Her eyes narrowed, analyzing the wet, poorly dressed girl timidly holding her father's hand. "Who's this?" Valerie asked, descending the rest of the stairs with a defensive posture. "Valerie, this is Lily," Arthur said, placing a protective hand on the younger girl's shoulder. "She's going to stay with us for a while." "What do you mean she's going to stay with us?" Valerie's voice rose an octave. "Dad, you didn't even ask me. You can't just show up at home with a child who needs help," Arthur completed firmly. "And I don't need to consult anyone about acts of kindness in my own house." Lily watched the exchange between father and daughter attentively, her street experience teaching her to read the tensions between people. She could feel the hostility emanating from Valerie like heat from an open oven. "I can leave," Lily said quietly, taking a step towards the door. "I don't want to cause trouble." "You're not going anywhere," Arthur said quickly, squatting down in front of her. "Valerie's just surprised. Aren't you, honey?" Valerie crossed her arms, clearly unwilling to make the situation easier. "Dad, you don't know anything about this girl, where she came from, if she has family, if she has diseases, if—" "I don't have diseases," Lily interrupted, her voice small but firm. "And I know how to take a shower, and I don't steal things." The girl's direct response caught Valerie off guard. There was something in the dignity of that small child that made her feel ashamed of her own words. "Look, Valerie began, but was interrupted by Lily's stomach growling loudly enough for everyone to hear. An embarrassing silence filled the room. Lily blushed deeply, putting her hands on her stomach as if she could silence it. "When was the last time you ate?" Arthur asked gently. Lily thought for a moment. "Yesterday morning. Mrs. Gable from the bakery gave me a buttered roll. The revelation hit Valerie like a slap in the face. A 6-year-old child had gone more than a whole day without eating, and she was worried about teenage territoriality. "Dad, take her to take a shower," Valerie said, her voice softer. "I'll heat up the leftover lasagna from lunch." Arthur smiled, recognizing his daughter's kind heart behind the superficial rebelliousness. "Thank you, honey. Lily, let's find some dry clothes for you." As Arthur led Lily upstairs, Valerie was left alone in the kitchen, stirring the lasagna in the microwave and feeling strangely guilty. Through the window, she could see the city lights turning on in the cold winter night. Upstairs, Arthur showed Lily the bathroom, who looked at the white bathtub as if it were a spaceship. "Is there hot water?" she asked, timidly touching the golden faucet. "Yes, there is. And soap, shampoo, clean towels, everything you need." Arthur opened the bathroom cabinet, taking out hygiene products. "Do you know how to use all this?" Lily nodded, but he noticed the hesitation in her eyes. "If you need help, just call me, okay?" he said. "I'll leave some of Valerie's clothes from when she was younger here at the door." When Arthur went down to the kitchen, he found Valerie setting the table more carefully than she usually did. "Dad, she's very small," Valerie said without looking at him, "and very skinny." "I know." "Where did you find her?" Arthur told his daughter about the events at the Overlook, about Grandma Dot, and about the courage that Lily showed in saving a stranger. As the story unfolded, Valerie stopped her activities to listen, her eyes widening at every detail. "She faced an adult man to save a lady she didn't even know?" Valerie asked, impressed. and gave such precise details about the aggressor that it seemed like a security camera, Arthur added. This girl is special, Valerie. There's something in her, an intelligence, a strength that's not common. At that moment they heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Lily appeared in the kitchen wearing a pink t-shirt and jeans that were too big for her but were clean and dry. Her wet hair had been combed, revealing a delicate face that the bath had left rosy and clean. "Wow," murmured Valerie. "You're pretty cute when you're clean." Lily smiled shyly, not used to compliments. "Thank you. Your clothes are very soft." During dinner, something unexpected happened. Lily ate slowly, savoring each bite as if it were a feast. But when she reached halfway through the plate, she stopped eating. "Didn't you like it?" asked Valerie, worried. "I liked it very much," Lily replied. "But I want to save some for tomorrow, and maybe for John and Mary if I can take it to them." "Who are John and Mary?" Arthur asked. "Siblings who live under the bridge on Main Street. They're younger than me, and sometimes they go hungrier." Lily carefully wrapped the remaining food in the napkin. "We always share what we can." The simple gesture completely broke Valerie's defenses. That little girl, who had spent more than a day without eating, was worried about sharing her food with other children even more in need. "Lily," said Valerie, her voice choked, "tomorrow I'll help you take food to them, okay? But now eat everything. There will be more food tomorrow, I promise you." Lily looked suspiciously at Valerie, as if testing the sincerity of the promise. After a moment, she untied the napkin and continued eating. After dinner, Arthur prepared the guest room for Lily, putting clean sheets on the bed and leaving a nightlight on. When he went back to check if she was okay, he found her sitting on the edge of the bed, looking out the window. "Can you sleep, or are you scared?" he asked gently. "I'm thinking about Grandma Dot," Lily replied. "I wonder if she's okay at the hospital. I wonder if she's scared. She's being well taken care of, and tomorrow we can visit her if you want." "I want to." Lily got into bed, pulling the blanket up to her chin. "Mr. Hayes, you can just call me Arthur." "Arthur, why did you bring me to your house? I'm just a street girl. No one cares about street girls." The question made Arthur sit on the edge of the bed, carefully choosing his words. "Because you showed courage and kindness when you could have simply hidden and stayed safe. Because you saved a life without thinking about your own safety. And because—" he paused, thinking of the wife he had lost. "Because I think everyone deserves to have someone who cares about them." Lily closed her eyes, but Arthur could see that she was still not relaxed. "Arthur," she said once more. "Yes? If I do something wrong, will you send me away?" "No," he replied without hesitating. "I won't." But while Lily finally fell asleep in a soft bed for the first time in months, neither of them knew that David was outside the house, watching from the shadows, planning how to silence the only witness to his attempted murder. Lily woke up before dawn, as always happened when she slept in strange places. For a few seconds, she was disoriented, trying to remember where she was. The room was dark, but there was a soft light coming from the street that illuminated the floral curtains. Then she remembered. She was at Arthur's house, in a real bed, with sheets that smelled of fabric softener. She got up quietly and walked to the window, slightly pulling back the curtain to peek outside. The street was empty, illuminated only by the yellowish lampposts, but there was something that bothered her, a feeling that she was being watched. Her survival instincts, sharpened by months on the streets, never deceived her. In the shadow of a tree across the street, a male figure was standing, too still to be casual. Lily narrowed her eyes, trying to distinguish better, and her heart leaped when she recognized the silhouette. It was him, the man from the Overlook, David. She recoiled from the window quickly, her heart beating so hard that she was sure it would wake up the whole house. She leaned against the wall next to the window, breathing heavily, trying to decide what to do. Should she wake up Arthur? But what if the man left before anyone came to see? What if no one believed her? She mustered courage to peek again, but the figure had disappeared. The street was empty, as if there had never been anyone there. Lily stared for a few more minutes, but saw no movement. Maybe it had been her imagination, the fear playing tricks on her mind, still traumatized by the events of the previous day. She went back to bed, but couldn't sleep anymore. She stared at the ceiling, thinking of Grandma Dot alone in the hospital, of John and Mary under the cold bridge, and of the man who might be looking for her. At 6 in the morning, she heard movement in the house. Footsteps in the hallway, the sound of water running in the bathroom. Arthur was waking up for another day of work. Lily got up and put on Valerie's borrowed clothes, combed her hair with her fingers, and went down to the kitchen. She found Arthur making coffee, wearing a dark grey suit and a blue tie. He smiled when he saw her. "Good morning, kiddo. Did you sleep well?" Lily hesitated. Should she tell him about what she saw in the window? She decided to. "Arthur, I saw a man on the street during the night, standing under the tree, looking at the house." Arthur stopped stirring the sugar in the coffee and looked seriously at her. "Are you sure? Could you see who it was?" "It looked like the man from the Overlook, the David." Her voice became small, but when I looked again, he was gone. Arthur felt a chill down his spine. He put the cup in the sink and knelt in front of Lily, holding her small hands. "Lily, listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. If you see that man again, anywhere, you run and call me immediately, or call Valerie, or any trusted adult. Understand?" She nodded, seeing the real concern in his eyes. "I'm going to hire a security guard to keep an eye on the house for a few days," Arthur said, more to himself than to her. "And today we're going to talk to the police." At that moment, Valerie came down the stairs, still in her pajamas and with her hair disheveled. She stopped when she saw Lily already dressed and awake. "Do you always wake up so early?" she asked, yawning. "On the street, you learn to wake up before the sun," Lily replied. "It's safer to move when there aren't many people around." The casual answer about such a harsh reality made Valerie feel ashamed of her own morning complaints. "Do you want me to make scrambled eggs for you?" "I'm good at scrambled eggs." "I've never had scrambled eggs," Lily admitted. "Never?" Valerie was shocked. "Then today you're going to taste the best scrambled eggs in the state." While Valerie cooked, Arthur explained to her about the possible sighting of David during the night. The teenager's carefree expression turned into genuine concern. "Dad, what if he tries to do something to Lily?" she asked, lowering her voice so that the girl wouldn't hear. "That's why we're going to take all the necessary precautions," Arthur replied. "And today we're going to the hospital to talk to Grandma Dot and then to the police station." Breakfast was tense, despite Valerie's efforts to maintain a light atmosphere. Lily ate the scrambled eggs with genuine enthusiasm, praising the flavor, but her eyes kept constantly darting to the windows. "Lily," said Arthur, "I'm not going to work today. We're going to spend the day taking care of some important things. First, let's see how Grandma Dot is doing." "Can I come along?" asked Valerie. "I don't have school today. It's a city holiday." "Of course you can." At the hospital, they found Grandma Dot more alert, but visibly dejected. Her eyes lit up when she saw Lily enter the room. "My little heroine," she said, stretching out her arms. "How are you?" Lily ran to the side of the bed and hugged the elderly woman carefully, avoiding the injured arm. "I was worried about you. Did it hurt a lot?" "It did, yes, but not as much as it hurts in the heart to know that my own grandson—" Grandma Dot couldn't finish the sentence. Arthur introduced Valerie and told her about the events of the previous night. Grandma Dot's face paled when she learned that David had possibly located Lily. "That boy is getting dangerous," she said, her voice trembling. "He's always been stubborn, but after he started with the online betting, he became another person. Threats, blackmail, and now this." "Do you have a safe place to stay when you leave the hospital?" Arthur asked. Grandma Dot shook her head sadly. "I only have the house on the property, but it's isolated. And now, afraid of David?" "You can stay with us too," Lily offered spontaneously. "Arthur's house is big, and Valerie makes very good scrambled eggs." Valerie smiled. touched by the girl's generosity. "It's true, Grandma Dot. We have plenty of space." Arthur was proud of the kindness of the two, but knew that the situation was more complicated. "We'll solve this step by step. First, let's go to the police station." At the police station, they were attended to by Detective Carlos Vargas, a middle-aged man with a grey mustache and a tired air. He listened patiently to Arthur's account and made some notes, but his expression wasn't very encouraging. "Mr. Hayes, I understand the concern, but let's analyze the facts," said the detective. "We have the account of a 6-year-old child about an attempted assault that wasn't witnessed by any adult. And now a possible nighttime observation that may have been a product of fear or imagination. Are you doubting Lily's word?" Arthur asked, feeling irritation growing. "I'm not doubting, but I'm realistic about how this would work in a legal process. The word of a street child against that of an adult." The detective left the sentence in the air. "I don't lie," Lily said firmly, her big eyes fixed on the detective. "I saw what I saw." "I'm sure you did, little one. But we need more evidence to act legally." They left the police station frustrated and worried. Arthur was beginning to realize that protecting Lily would be more complicated than he had imagined. "What now?" asked Valerie as they walked back to the car. "Now let's find a lawyer," Arthur said with determination. "If the police can't help us yet, let's prepare legally." "I know someone," said a voice behind them. They turned and saw a woman of about 50, her brown hair tied in a bun and wearing professional but simple clothes. She had left the police station right after them. "Sorry to intrude, but I overheard part of your conversation with Detective Vargas," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Hope Sanders, an attorney, and I believe I can help you." Arthur hesitated. "I don't know if we can afford—" "Don't worry about that now," Hope interrupted, looking fondly at Lily. "I work with many cases of children in vulnerable situations. I can help you pro bono initially." "Why do you want to help us?" Lily asked, her natural distrust surfacing. Hope squatted down in front of her, getting to her level. "Because I have 2 children, and I know that every child deserves protection and justice, and because something tells me that you're very special." Lily looked at Arthur, who nodded encouragingly. "Okay," she said, "but I want to help too. I want the bad man to pay for what he did to Grandma Dot." Hope smiled. "Then let's work together. But first, I need to know everything about you, Lily. Your story, your family, everything. To protect you properly, I need to understand who you really are." What none of them knew was that this search for the truth about Lily would reveal secrets that would completely change the course of their lives, and that the danger they faced was much greater than they imagined. Hope Sanders' office was in a small commercial space in downtown Cascade Falls, decorated simply but warmly. There were plants in the windows, a bookcase full of law books, and some photos of smiling children on the walls, probably cases she had helped over the years. Lily sat in the upholstered chair, swinging her legs that didn't reach the floor, while Arthur and Valerie settled in beside her. Hope picked up a new file and a pen, preparing to document everything carefully. "Lily, I'm going to ask you some questions, and if any are too difficult, you can stop at any time, okay?" Hope said gently. The girl nodded, but her small fingers nervously squeezed the hem of the borrowed t-shirt. "Let's start with the basics. What is your full name?" "Lily." She paused, as if trying to remember. "Lily Sanders." Hope wrote it down, but something in the child's hesitation caught her attention. "Are you sure about that name, honey?" Lily lowered her eyes. "That was the name I used when I started living on the street, but I don't think that's my real name." A heavy silence filled the room. Arthur leaned forward, concerned. "What do you mean by that?" he asked softly. "When I was little, before I went to the street, people called me another name, but I can't remember it right." Lily rubbed her forehead, as if trying to force her memory. "It was similar, but different." Hope made more notes. "And do you remember your parents? What were they like?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. My mom was beautiful. She had long brown hair like mine. She sang to me before I went to sleep. Her voice got lower. And my dad, he carried me in his arms and called me his little princess. What happened to them? Asked Hope carefully. There was an accident, said Lily, the tears streaming down her face. Rain, a lot of noise, people screaming. When I woke up, I was in a place with a lot of white beds and people in white clothes. A hospital, murmured Valerie. Moved. Yes. And then a lady took me away. She said she was going to take care of me, but she was mean. She hit me and left me without food. And there were other boys there too, all sad. Hope stopped writing, a worried expression taking over her face. Lily, this lady, did she make you work? Did she ask you to ask for money on the street? Lily nodded slowly. We had to bring money to her every day. If we didn't bring it, we wouldn't get dinner, and she sold some boys to other people. The revelation made Arthur pale. Valerie covered her mouth with her hands, horrified. My God, whispered Hope. Lily, did you escape from this situation? One day she argued with a man who wanted to take me. They shouted a lot and I managed to run away. Since then, I've been living on the street alone. It's been a long time. How long, more or less? Asked Hope. Lily counted on her fingers, concentrated. I think 2 years, maybe more. The information hit everyone like a bomb. A child of only 6 years old had survived alone on the streets for 2 years, fleeing from a situation of child exploitation. Lily, said Hope, her voice firm but gentle, do you remember the name of this mean lady, or where the house was? Ms. Crane, Lily replied immediately. And the house was on a street with a lot of big trees, near where that very tall church is. What's it called? Cathedral, suggested Arthur. Yes. And there was a broken green gate in front. Hope wrote furiously, Lily, you're very brave for having managed to escape. And now we're going to do everything to protect you and discover the truth about your family. But what if my parents aren't? Lily couldn't finish the sentence. Then you'll have us, said Valerie spontaneously, surprising even herself. Won't you, Dad? Arthur looked at his daughter with pride and affection. That's right. You'll always have a place with us. Hope watched them with a smile, but her mind was already working on the legal implications of the case. I need to investigate this situation immediately. If there really is a child exploitation ring operating in the area. At that moment, the office phone rang. Hope answered quickly. Hope Sanders, what? When? I understand. Thank you for letting me know. She hung up with a tense expression. What was it? Asked Arthur. It was from the hospital. Grandma Dot received a visit this morning. A man who identified himself as her grandson, but who made the staff uncomfortable. He asked a lot of questions about who had visited her and if she had spoken with the police. David, Lily said immediately. He's looking for me. Not just that, continued Hope. Grandma Dot became very agitated after the visit and asked to speak with me urgently. She wants to change her will. Arthur frowned. Change how? I don't know yet, but she scheduled it for this afternoon, and she specifically asked for Lily to be present. Why does she want me to be there? Asked Lily, confused. I don't know, honey, but we'll find out. As they prepared to leave the office, Hope pulled Arthur aside. Arthur, I need to be direct with you, she said softly. Lily's case is much more complex than it initially seemed. If she really escaped from a child exploitation ring, there are people looking for her who are much more dangerous than David. What are you saying? I'm saying that you may be in real danger. These types of organizations don't like loose ends, especially one with the photographic memory that Lily demonstrates to have. Arthur felt a chill run down his spine. And what can we do? For now, keep her safe and document everything. But Arthur, if what I suspect is true, you'll need to make difficult decisions soon. When they arrived at the hospital, they found Grandma Dot visibly nervous. Her hands were shaking as she held a sealed envelope. I'm glad you came, she said, her eyes fixing on Lily. My dear, I need to tell you something very important. Lily approached the bed, holding the elderly woman's hand. When David was here today, he said things that made me understand that he knows about you much more than he should. How so? Asked Hope, alert. He asked about the girl who meddles where she shouldn't, said that certain people were looking for a child with Lily's characteristics. Grandma Dot looked directly at the girl. Honey, I think you may be in much greater danger than we imagined. What kind of danger? Asked Arthur, his voice tense. Grandma Dot opened the envelope and took out some old photographs. These are photos of my property from years ago, but look at this one. She showed a photo where a house with a broken green gate in front appeared. Lily's eyes widened. It's Ms. Crane's house. How do you have this photo? Because, said Grandma Dot in a grave voice, that house is located on my property. And I think I know why David wants so badly for me to sell these lands. The revelation left everyone in shock. The child exploitation ring that had held Lily in captivity operated within Grandma Dot's property, and David knew about it. My God, murmured Hope. He doesn't just want the money from the sale. He wants to protect the operation. And now that Lily escaped and can identify the location, Arthur didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone looked at the girl, who had become not only a witness, but the central point of a network of corruption and exploitation much larger than anyone had imagined. What are we going to do? Asked Valerie, her voice small with fear. We're going to fight, said Grandma Dot with determination, squeezing Lily's hand, and we're going to discover the whole truth, no matter what it costs. But none of them knew that, at that very moment, David was receiving a call that would completely change the urgency of the situation. Across town, David Santos walked nervously through the small apartment he rented near downtown. His cell phone rang with a call from an unknown number, but he knew exactly who it was. His hands trembled as he answered. David. The female voice on the other end of the line was cold, controlled, and carried an authority that made him break out in a cold sweat. Crane, I can explain. Explain what? That you tried to kill your own grandmother and was seen by one of my children. That now she's living with a family and talking about things she shouldn't be talking about. David swallowed hard. The situation is under control. The girl is just a street kid. No one will believe her. You're more of an idiot than I thought. Crane's voice got lower, more dangerous. That street kid has already been seen by a lawyer, is living with a respectable family, and even worse, your grandmother is making connections. What kind of connections? Grandma Dot found out about the house on her property. She knows that you have knowledge about our operation. In a few hours, she's going to connect all the dots. David sat heavily in an old chair, running his hands over his face. What do you want me to do? First, you're going to stop acting like a desperate amateur. Second, you're going to find a way to discredit the girl before she becomes a bigger problem. How? Use your imagination. But David, the pause on the line was loaded with threat. If you screw this up, it won't just be your grandmother who's in trouble. You know too much about our operation to be considered expendable. The call ended, leaving David alone with the weight of the implications. He wasn't just a greedy grandson trying to expedite an inheritance. He was part of something much bigger and more dangerous. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Grandma Dot continued her devastating revelation to Arthur, Hope, and the girls. 3 years ago, I started noticing strange movements in the most remote part of the property, she explained, her hands still shaking. Cars arriving at night, people going in and out. When I asked David, he said he had rented the house to an acquaintance who needed a quiet place. Did you believe him? Asked Hope, making meticulous notes. At first, yes. David has always been convincing when he wanted to be, but then I started hearing strange things coming from there. Children crying, screams. Once I tried to get closer, but David always appeared and took me away, saying that I was confusing things. Lily listened to everything in silence, but her small hands were clenched into fists. Ms. Crane hurt the children when they cried, she said suddenly. She said that crying drew the neighbors' attention. How many children did you see there, Lily? Asked Hope gently. Sometimes there were 5, sometimes more. They came and went. Lily paused, as if reliving painful memories. Some were taken by people in fancy cars. Others just disappeared. The silence in the room was heavy. Everyone understood the terrible implications of what Lily was describing. Grandma Dot, said Hope carefully, do you have the deeds to the property? Documents that prove that the house where this happened is yours? I have everything at home. But, Grandma Dot hesitated. But what? David has a copy of the keys. He could have destroyed the documents, or worse, altered something. Arthur stood up abruptly. Then we need to go there now, before he has the chance to do that. No, said Hope firmly. It's too dangerous. If there really is a criminal operation functioning there, we can't just show up. But the documents... I can get copies at the registry, interrupted the lawyer. What we need now is more solid evidence and protection for all of you. At that moment, Valerie, who had remained quiet, spoke up. What if we could get David to confess? Record him talking about all this? How? Asked Arthur. Lily said that he's afraid of Ms. Crane, right? Valerie looked at the smaller girl, who nodded. So maybe if he thought he had lost control of the situation, he would panic and say too much. Hope was impressed by the teenager's insight. It's an interesting idea, but very risky. I can help, said Lily, determined. I know how he thinks. At Ms. Crane's house, I learned to listen to the adults' conversations without them noticing. Absolutely not, said Arthur categorically. I'm not going to put you in danger. But I'm already in danger, argued Lily with a simple and devastating logic. And if we don't stop this, other children will suffer like I suffered. Before anyone could respond, a nurse entered the room urgently. Mrs. Ferreira, there's a man outside saying he's your grandson and that he needs to talk to you urgently. He seems agitated. Everyone exchanged glances. David had returned. Is he alone? Asked Hope. Yes, but he's very nervous. He said it's a family emergency. Hope thought quickly. This could be our chance. Grandma Dot, do you feel able to talk to him while I record the conversation? Record. How? Hope took out her cell phone. It's legal to record conversations when there's suspicion of a crime and one of the parties consents. Would you consent? Grandma Dot nodded with determination. I consent. I want my grandson to pay for everything he's done. Lily, Valerie, you're going to hide in the bathroom of the room, Arthur instructed. If something goes wrong, you run out and look for security. And you? Asked Lily, worried. I'll stay here to protect Grandma Dot. 5 minutes later, David entered the room. He was visibly nervous, sweating despite the cold of the hospital air conditioning. His eyes scanned the room, looking for something or someone. Grandma, I need to talk to you about something very important, he said, trying to sound casual but failing miserably. What is it, my grandson? Grandma Dot kept her voice firm, although her heart was racing. It's about yesterday at the Overlook. I was very nervous, not sleeping well because of the debts. I wasn't thinking straight. Oh, really? And what exactly weren't you thinking straight about? David noticed the presence of Arthur and Hope in the room and became even more tense. Who are these people? They're my friends. Mr. Hayes brought me to the hospital, and Dr. Sanders is helping me with legal matters. Legal matters? David's voice rose an octave. What legal matters? About my property, about things that are happening there that I didn't authorize. David's face paled. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the house you rented to your friend Crane. I'm talking about the children who live there. I'm talking about what really happens on my land. Grandma, you don't understand. David began to walk back and forth, clearly panicking. It's complicated. I couldn't tell you because what? Grandma Dot leaned forward, pressing him. Because she said she was going to hurt you if I told. Crane, she's not a normal person, Grandma. She has connections, people who do bad things. When I found out what was really happening at the house, it was too late to get out." Hope and Arthur exchanged glances. David was confessing but painting himself as a victim. "And the children?" asked Grandma Dot. "What happens to the children?" I can't talk about it here." David looked nervously at Arthur and Hope. "It's too dangerous." "Then talk about yesterday," pressed Grandma Dot. "Why did you try to push me off the cliff?" "Because Crane said that if you started asking questions about the property, we would all be in danger. She said that the only way to stop it was if you weren't here to cause trouble." The explicit confession made the room completely silent. David realized what he had said and paled even further. "No, I didn't mean... that wasn't..." At that moment, his cell phone rang. When he saw the number, his face fell apart completely. "I can't answer now," he murmured, but the phone continued to ring insistently. "Answer it," said a small voice coming from the bathroom door. Everyone turned and saw Lily coming out of the hiding place, her big eyes fixed on David. "Answer the phone," she repeated. "It's her, isn't it, Ms. Crane? She wants to know if you've found me yet." Lily's presence made David go into total panic. You shouldn't be here. She said that if I didn't find you..." The phone stopped ringing, but immediately a text message arrived. David read it, and his face turned into pure terror. "She's coming here," he whispered. "Crane's coming to the hospital, with other people." And at that moment everyone realized that they weren't just dealing with a greedy grandson and a mean woman. They were at the center of something much bigger and more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The panic in the hospital room was palpable. David looked alternately at his cell phone and at Lily, as if he couldn't process that both were there at the same time. Arthur immediately positioned himself in front of the girl, while Hope was already dialing the police. "How much time do we have?" asked Arthur, trying to stay calm. "I don't know. She said she was leaving now. 15 minutes, maybe less," replied David, still in shock. "David," said Grandma Dot firmly, "you're going to help us get out of here. It's the only chance for you to redeem yourself for what you've done." "You don't understand," David exploded. "Crane doesn't come alone. She has men who do anything she tells them to do. If she finds out that you know about the operation..." "What operation exactly?" interrupted Hope, still trying to connect the call with the police. "How many people are involved?" David took a deep breath, as if he had finally decided to tell the whole truth. "It's bigger than you imagine. Crane isn't just a woman who mistreats children. She coordinates everything for other people, important people in the city." "Who?" asked Arthur. "I can't say names here, but they're people you know, people that nobody would suspect." David looked directly at Lily. "That's why she wants to find you so much. You can identify not only her, but some of the clients." Lily hid even further behind Arthur. "I saw men arriving by car at night," she said in a small voice. "Expensive cars. And they talked about other cities, other places like that one." The revelation made Hope stop trying to call. "Lily, do you remember any face? Any name?" "I remember everything," she replied simply. "But I'm scared." "You don't need to be scared now," said Valerie, coming out of the bathroom and joining the group. "We're going to protect you." At that moment, Hope finally managed to complete the call with the police. "Hello? Police station? This is Attorney Hope Sanders. We're at the community hospital and we need urgent police protection. Yes, it's about the case of the attempted assault against Dulcina Santos. No, it's much more serious than we thought." While Hope spoke with the police, Arthur worked out an escape plan. "David, do you know the exits of this hospital?" "I know them, but Crane knows them too. She's been here other times." David paused, realizing what he had revealed. She brought injured children here a few times, always with made-up stories about household accidents." "And the doctors believed her?" asked Grandma Dot, horrified. "Some were suspicious, but she always brought false documents, passed herself off as a relative or guardian. And when someone asked too many questions..." David didn't finish the sentence. What happened? Pressed Arthur. They were transferred, fired, or they simply stopped asking questions. The implication was clear. Crane's network had influence even inside the hospital. "The police are coming," announced Hope, hanging up the phone. "But they'll take at least 10 minutes. "We don't have 10 minutes, said David, looking out the window. "I already saw her car in the parking lot." Everyone turned to the window. In the parking lot, a black SUV had stopped near the main entrance. 2 figures got out of the vehicle, a middle-aged woman with blonde hair and business clothes, accompanied by a large man with sunglasses. "It's her," whispered Lily, hiding completely behind Arthur. "It's Ms. Crane," Hope thought quickly. "Is there an exit in the back of the hospital?" "There is, but we have to go through several hallways," replied David, "and if they split up—" "We can't stay here," said Arthur with determination. "Grandma Dot, can you get out of bed?" "I can. My arm is hurt, but my legs work." Quickly they helped Grandma Dot get dressed and out of the hospital bed. David peeked through the hallway. "The hallway is clear for now," he reported, "but we need to go now." The group moved silently through the hospital hallway. Arthur carried Lily in his arms so that they could move more quickly, while Valerie helped Grandma Dot to walk. Hope went ahead, checking every corner, and David closed the rear, visibly nervous. They reached the service elevator when they heard voices coming from the front desk on the floor. "We're looking for a patient named Dulcina Santos," said an authoritative female voice. "We're family." "Her room is 204, replied the receptionist. "But I think she has visitors at the moment." "Great," the voice approached. "Let's surprise her." The elevator arrived just as they heard footsteps heading in the direction of Grandma Dot's room. They entered quickly, and Hope pressed the basement button. "Where are we going?" asked Valerie. "My car is in the back parking lot," said Arthur. "If we can get there—" The elevator stopped in the basement, and they left cautiously. It was a less busy area, with hallways that led to the service areas and the employees' parking lot. They were almost reaching the exit when Lily pulled Arthur's shirt. "Someone's following us," she whispered. Arthur looked back and saw a large male figure walking decisively in their direction. It was the man who had gotten out of the SUV with Crane. "Run," said Arthur softly but urgently. They began to walk more quickly, trying not to draw attention, but the man had clearly identified them and began to accelerate his pace too. They reached the back exit door when they heard the man shout, "Stop right there!" Arthur pushed the door open and everyone ran out to the parking lot. His car was about 50 yards away, but it seemed like a mile, with a child in his arms and an injured elderly woman. "Daddy Arthur," said Lily suddenly, using the term for the first time, "put me down." "I run faster than you. I'm not going to leave you," he replied, continuing to run. They reached the car when they heard a second set of footsteps. Crane had appeared at the back exit and was running in their direction, shouting orders to the man. Arthur unlocked the car and everyone entered quickly. He was putting the key in the ignition when Crane came close enough to bang on the passenger window. "Lily!" she shouted, her face transformed by fury. "You know you can't run away from me. Come back here now." Lily shrank into the back seat between Valerie and Grandma Dot, trembling with fear. "I don't want to go with her," she cried. "Please don't let me go with her." "No one's going to let you go," said Valerie firmly, hugging the smaller girl. Arthur started the car and sped out of the parking lot, leaving Crane screaming behind them. In the rearview mirror, he could see the woman talking urgently on the phone. "Where are we going?" he asked, driving through the streets of Cascade Falls without a specific destination. "We can't go back to your house," said Hope. "They know where you live. And we can't go to the police station yet," added David. "If Crane really has contacts in the local police, then let's go out of town," Arthur decided. "Hope, do you have a safe place where we can hide until the state police arrive?" "I have a cottage in Oak Haven, about an hour from here. My ex-in-laws lent it to me a few years ago, and I never use it. It's isolated, but it has a phone and electricity." "Then that's where we're going." As they drove through the rural roads of the countryside, Lily finally stopped crying and looked out the window, watching the passing landscapes. "Arthur," she said softly, "I want to tell you about all the people I saw at Miss Crane's house. All of them, so that they can't hurt other children anymore." "Are you sure?" he asked, looking at her in the rearview mirror. "I am. Because now I know that you're going to protect me. And because other children like John and Mary deserve to be safe too." Grandma Dot took Lily's small hand. "You are the bravest child I've ever met." "I'm not brave," Lily replied. "I'm just tired of being scared." As they headed to the temporary hideout, none of them imagined that Lily's decision to speak would reveal connections that would reach some of the most powerful people in the region, and that the real battle was just beginning. The cottage in Oakhaven was a simple construction of wood and stone, hidden among centuries-old eucalyptus trees and surrounded by a tall lawn that hadn't been mowed in months. When they arrived, the sun was already setting, painting the sky with a reddish-orange typical of sunsets. Hope took the key hidden under a pot of dry plants on the porch and opened the door. The interior smelled of mildew and dust, but it was clean and functional. There was a small room with a fireplace, 2 bedrooms, a basic kitchen, and a landline that, to everyone's relief, still worked. "I'm going to call my contact in the state police in Capital City," said Hope, picking up the phone. "He can coordinate an investigation without going through the local police station in Cascade Falls." While Hope made the calls, Arthur managed to light the fireplace to heat the room. Valerie found some blankets in the closet and prepared a comfortable place for Grandma Dot to lie down on the sofa. Lily sat on the floor near the fire, finally seeming relaxed for the first time in hours. David remained near the window, nervously watching the dirt road that led to the house. "They won't find us here," said Arthur, trying to reassure him. "You don't know Crane like I know her," replied David. "She has resources, contacts. If she wants to find us—" "Then it's better to tell everything we know as quickly as possible," interrupted Hope, hanging up the phone. "My contact is coming here with a team specialized in crimes against children. They'll be here in 2 hours." "2 hours," murmured Lily. "It's enough time for me to tell about all of them." Hope sat on the floor next to the girl with a borrowed recorder and her notebook. "Lily, are you sure you want to do this now? It can be very difficult to remember." "I want to," said Lily with determination. "And I'm going to start with the first important person I saw at Miss Crane's house." She closed her eyes, as she always did when accessing her impressive photographic memory. He was a tall man with grey hair, who wore small glasses and had a gold wedding band on his finger. He arrived in a black Mercedes and talked to Crane about expanding the business to other cities. "Do you remember any other details about him?" asked Hope. "He had a scar on his right hand, in the shape of a moon, and he called Crane partner. He said that the investors from Capital City were satisfied with the results." David paled. "You're talking about Dr. Henry Moretti." "Who is Dr. Henry Moretti?" asked Arthur. "Municipal Secretary of Social Assistance," replied David in a weak voice. He was the one who gave Crane authorization to open the temporary shelter on Grandma's property." A shocked silence filled the room. The man responsible for protecting vulnerable children was actually facilitating their exploitation. "Lily," said Hope carefully, "do you remember anyone else?" The girl nodded and continued. "There was a woman who went there sometimes. She was thin, wore expensive clothes, and always brought papers for Crane to sign. Once I heard her talking about fake documents and unregistered children." "What did she look like?" asked Valerie. "Neat blonde hair, red painted nails, and she drove a small white car. Crane called her Dr. Finley." This time it was Hope who turned pale. "Finley Shaw. You know her?" asked Arthur. "She's a county clerk, responsible for birth certificates and adoption records." Hope ran her hand through her hair, visibly shaken. If she was providing false documents, "How many children," interrupted Grandma Dot in a trembling voice, "how many children may have officially disappeared because of this?" No one wanted to answer the question. Lily continued her account for another hour, detailing other people she had seen. A police officer that David identified as being from the local police station, a well-known merchant in the city, and even a pastor of a church who allegedly did social work with needy children. "It's a complete network," murmured Hope, looking at her extensive notes. "They had coverage in all areas: social assistance, county clerk, police, church, and I was right in the middle of it all," said David, the guilt evident in his voice. "Facilitating everything for the sake of gambling money." "How did your involvement begin?" asked Arthur. David took a deep breath before answering. 2 years ago, I lost a lot of money in an online bet. A lot. Dangerous men started threatening me. That's when Crane approached me. She said she knew about my problems and could help me pay them off. In exchange for what? Initially, just to use the house on Grandma's property. She said it was for a social project, children at risk. She even showed official documents, stamps, everything seemed legal. When did you find out the truth? A few weeks later. I arrived there at a time I shouldn't have, and I saw things that a normal shelter wouldn't have. David paused, clearly disturbed by the memory. Hidden cameras, locks on the outside of the rooms, and the children. They were afraid of everything. "Why didn't you leave at that moment?" asked Valerie. "Because Crane showed me pictures." David looked directly at Grandma Dot. "Pictures of me receiving money from her, documents signed by me authorizing the use of the property. She said that if I tried to leave or report it, she would incriminate me as one of the organizers. And she also threatened Grandma," added Lily suddenly. "I heard when you spoke with her on the phone. You said, 'Don't do anything to my grandma. She doesn't know anything.'" David nodded, tears in his eyes. "That's why when she said that the only way to protect Grandma was if she wasn't here to ask questions, I thought." "You thought it was the only way out," completed Grandma Dot, reaching out to her grandson. "My dear foolish boy, you should have told me everything from the beginning. I was afraid and ashamed, and I was so desperate." At that moment, they heard the sound of cars approaching on the dirt road. David got up quickly, running to the window. "There are 3 cars," he reported, relieved. "Official cars." Hope looked out the window and recognized her contact. "It's the state police team. They arrived earlier than expected." When the investigators entered the house, led by Detective Robert Cook, an experienced man specialized in crimes against vulnerable people, the atmosphere immediately changed to something more formal and professional. "Hope, I received your preliminary report by phone," said the detective. "This is much more serious than anything we've ever seen in the region." "Detective Cook, this is Lily," introduced Hope, "the main witness." The detective squatted down in front of the girl, speaking gently. "Lily, you were very brave in telling everything you saw. Now we're going to need you to help us a little more, okay?" "How?" she asked. "We need you to take us to the house where everything happened, but only if you feel safe to do so." Lily looked at Arthur, who nodded encouragingly. "I'll go with you," he promised. "We'll all go," added Valerie. "Actually," interrupted the detective, "that can be dangerous. If the operation is still running." "That's exactly why it needs to be today," said Lily, with a determination that surprised the adults. "Because if we wait, they'll take the children who are still there to another place. And I couldn't live knowing that other children are suffering when I could have helped." Detective Cook looked at Hope, who nodded. "She's right. Every hour we spend here is one more hour of suffering for other children." "Then let's finish this," said Grandma Dot, getting up from the sofa with difficulty. "Let's end this evil once and for all." "Grandma, you can't come," protested David. "It's too dangerous." "My grandson," she replied firmly, "those people used my property to hurt children. I'm going to be there when they're stopped." As the group prepared to return to Cascade Falls, this time with police protection, Lily approached Arthur. "Daddy Arthur," she said softly, "after all this is over, Will I still be able to stay with you? Arthur picked her up in his arms, hugging her tightly. No matter what happens, you'll always have a family with us. I promise you that, but none of them imagined that the operation they were about to execute would reveal a truth about Lily herself that would change everything they thought they knew about her. The operation was planned to begin at dawn. 3 state police patrol cars were strategically positioned around Grandma Dot's property, while a 4th team was responsible for protecting the group of witnesses in a safe position, about 200 yards from the house where the criminal operation was running. Lily was sitting in the back seat of the command patrol car, between Arthur and Valerie, watching through the binoculars that Detective Cook had lent her to identify the exact location. Her small hands were trembling slightly, but her voice was firm when she gave the directions. "The house is that one there, with the broken green gate," she said, pointing, "and there's a side window where Crane always stood guard when important visitors arrived." "How many children do you think might be there now?" asked the detective. Lily thought carefully. "When I escaped, there were 5, but they brought new children and took others away almost every week." Hope was sitting in the front seat, coordinating with other detectives through the radio. Dr. Henry Moretti's team confirmed that he didn't sleep at home last night. He was probably warned about our investigation. "What about Dr. Finley?" asked Arthur. "Also disappeared, but we have arrest warrants for everyone involved that Lily identified." Through the radio, they heard the voice of the police officer responsible for night surveillance. "Movement confirmed in the house. 2 female figures leaving through the back door with what appear to be children." "It's now," said Detective Cook, picking up the radio. "All teams, execute the operation." Lily clung to Arthur's hand when she saw the officers moving towards the house. "What if the children are afraid of the police? They've learned to be afraid of all adults." "That's why you're here," said Valerie, holding the girl's other hand. "If they see you, they'll know they're safe." Minutes later, through the radios, came the first confirmations. 2 adults detained in the main house, Crane Mendez and an unidentified man so far. 4 children found inside the residence, apparent ages between 5 and 8 years old. A 3rd structure discovered in the back of the property. It seems to be where they kept documents and equipment. Grandma Dot, who was in the patrol car next door, supported by David, began to cry upon hearing the confirmations. "My property. My land being used for this." "Grandma, it's over now," said David, hugging her. "And it's because of your courage and Lily's that these children are being saved." An hour later, Detective Cook returned to the patrol car with news that shocked everyone. "We found more than we expected," he said, with a grave expression. "It wasn't just an exploitation house. They kept detailed records of all the children who passed through there in the last 3 years." "Records?" asked Hope. "Files with photos, personal information, and," he paused, looking at Lily, "complete medical histories." "Why is that important?" asked Arthur. "Because one of those files completely changed our understanding of who Lily is." Everyone fell silent, feeling that something fundamental was about to be revealed. "Lily," said the detective gently, "you told us that you couldn't remember your real name, right?" She nodded, her big eyes fixed on him. "Your real name is Miriam de Silva, and you're not an orphan." The world seemed to stop for Lily. "How so?" "Your mother is alive. Her name is Miriam Silva. She's 29 years old, and she's been in a psychiatric clinic in Capital City for 2 years. Arthur felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. Valerie covered her mouth with her hands, and Grandma Dot closed her eyes, processing the information. My mom is alive?" Lily's voice was almost a whisper. "She is. And according to the records we found, you were taken from the hospital after the accident that killed your father. Crane forged documents saying that you had lost your life in the same accident. So my mom thinks I'm..." Lily couldn't finish the sentence. Your mother developed severe depression after losing her husband and believing that she had also lost her daughter. She's been in treatment for 2 years. Tears began to stream down Lily's face, but she didn't know if she was crying with joy or sadness. Will she want to see me? Lily, said Hope softly, your mother never stopped looking for you. She has your room exactly as it was before the accident, and every day she asks the doctors if there's any news about a missing girl who looks like you. But then Arthur felt a deep pain in his chest. This means that Lily can't stay with us. The silence that followed was heavy with complex emotions. Lily looked at Arthur, then at Valerie, then back at the detective. Can I meet my mom? She asked finally. Of course you can. In fact, we've already contacted the clinic. Your mother is being prepared to receive the news that you're alive and safe. And then, Lily's voice was small, frightened. Then you and your mother will decide, along with the social workers and psychologists, what is the best way to rebuild your lives. Arthur took a deep breath, fighting against the pain of knowing that he might lose the girl who had become his daughter at heart. Lily, no matter what happens, you'll always have a family here with us too. Always. Promise? She asked, her big eyes full of tears. I promise. At that moment, a policewoman approached the patrol car. Detective, we have a situation that needs your attention. What is it? He asked. One of the children we rescued? She's asking specifically to speak with Lily. She says that Lily promised to come back to save her. Lily lit up immediately. It's Mary. I told her that if I managed to get out, I would come back for her and John. John? Asked the policewoman. Her brother. They live under the bridge, but sometimes Crane took Mary to work at the house. The policewoman exchanged a meaningful look with the detective. Detective, it may be that we have more victims than we thought. Children who weren't in the house at the time of the operation, but who are part of the scheme. Lily, said the detective, could you help us find these other children? I can, she replied immediately. I know where they are, and they trust me. But first, interrupted Hope, she needs to see her mother. This reunification cannot be delayed. I agree, said the detective. We're going to Capital City today. Lily can help us with the other children after she reunites with her mother. As they prepared for the trip to Capital City, Lily approached Grandma Dot. Grandma Dot, she said, thank you for believing in me from day one. Grandma Dot hugged her carefully, avoiding the injured arm. Thank you, my dear, for having saved me and for having saved all these other children. And David. Lily looked at the young man who had been her initial aggressor, but who was now clearly repentant and collaborating fully with the police. David will pay for what he did, said the detective, but considering his collaboration and the fact that he was also a victim of blackmail, he probably won't be in prison for long. Lily, said David, approaching her, I know I can't undo what I did, but thank you for having saved my grandmother, and I'm sorry for everything. Lily looked at him for a long moment. You were scared too, she said finally. I understand. The capacity for forgiveness of that 6-year-old child left all the adults present deeply moved. 2 hours later, they were on their way to Capital City. Lily slept in Arthur's arms, exhausted by the intense morning, while Valerie held her small hand. Hope was organizing the documents needed for family reunification, and Grandma Dot watched the landscape passing by the window. Arthur, said Hope softly so as not to wake Lily, are you prepared for the possibility that Lily wants to stay with her biological mother? Arthur looked at the girl sleeping in his arms. I want what's best for her. Always. What if what's best is for her to have a family that includes both her biological mother and you? How so? I'm thinking about some legal arrangement that allows her to maintain ties with everyone who loves her. Maybe a shared custody or an extended family situation? Would that be possible? With goodwill from all parties and adequate psychological support, yes. Arthur smiled for the first time in hours. Maybe he didn't have to lose Lily after all. Maybe they could find a way to create a non-conventional family, but united by the genuine love that everyone felt for that extraordinary girl. What none of them expected was that the reunion with Lily's mother would reveal even more complexities about the girl's past, and that the journey to build a new family was only just beginning. St. Raphael's Clinic was located in a wooded area of Capital City, surrounded by well-manicured gardens that conveyed a sense of peace and tranquility. It was mid-afternoon when they arrived, and Lily had been awake for an hour, nervous and constantly asking questions about what it would be like to see her mother again. "What if she doesn't remember me?" she asked for the 10th time as they walked toward the main entrance. "Mothers never forget their children," Grandma Dot replied, holding the girl's hand. "No matter how much time passes. But I've changed so much. I'm bigger, and my hair is different, and—" "Lily," Valerie interrupted gently, "a mother's heart recognizes her child even in the dark. Trust me." They were greeted by Dr. Patricia Moore, a middle-aged psychiatrist with a warm smile and gentle eyes. She led them to a comfortable living room decorated in soft tones and natural plants. "Before you meet," the doctor explained, "I need to tell you a little about Miriam's current condition. She's medicated and stable, but the last 2 years have been very difficult for her." "How did she react when you found out Lily was alive?" Arthur asked. "At first, she didn't believe it. She thought it was a delusion caused by the medication. But when we showed her the photos you sent and some specific details that only her daughter would know, she broke down. She cried for hours, but they were tears of joy." "Is she ready to see me?" Lily asked, her voice small. "Yes, dear. But we have to take it slow, okay? Your mother is very emotional, and so are you. It's normal to feel strange at first." Dr. Moore led them down a silent hallway to a smaller room with windows overlooking the garden. There were 2 comfortable armchairs, a low table with water and cookies, and some magazines scattered around, an environment specifically created for delicate family reunions. "Lily, do you want me to go in with you first?" Arthur offered. She shook her head. "I want to go in alone. But you'll stay close by?" "We'll be right outside," Valerie promised. "And if you need anything, just call." Dr. Moore opened the door, and Lily walked in slowly. In the center of the room, a young woman with brown hair was sitting in an armchair, her nervous hands fiddling with a tissue. When she saw Lily, Miriam stood up slowly, as if she was seeing a ghost. "Lily," she whispered, using her daughter's real name for the first time in years. Lily stopped in the middle of the room, studying the woman's face. She was thinner than she remembered, and there were lines of suffering around her eyes, but it was definitely her mother. "Mom," she said simply. Miriam burst into tears, falling to her knees and opening her arms. "My girl, my little one. I always knew you were alive." Lily ran into her mother's arms, and the reunion was intense and emotional. Both cried, hugged, and looked at each other as if needing to be sure it was real. "You've grown so much," Miriam sobbed, touching her daughter's face. "Oh my God, you've grown so much, and you're so thin. Have you been eating right? Where have you been? Who took care of you?" "I took care of myself most of the time," Lily replied honestly. "But now Daddy Arthur and Valerie take care of me." Miriam stopped crying for a moment, processing the words. "Daddy Arthur." Lily realized she had said something that might hurt her mother. "He's not my real dad," she explained quickly. "My real dad was you and my dad who went to heaven. But Arthur, he saved me and gave me a family when I needed it." "Tell me," Miriam said, drying her tears and trying to compose herself. "Tell me everything that happened to you." For the next hour, Lily told her mother her story, omitting the harshest details about the abuse, but telling her about life on the streets, how she met Grandma Dot and Arthur, and how she had found a family that loved her. Miriam listened with a mixture of horror and gratitude, realizing that her daughter had survived terrible things, but had also found good people who cared for her. "I want to meet these people," Miriam said finally. I want to thank them for taking care of my daughter when I couldn't. They're here, Lily said, excited. Can I call them? When Arthur, Valerie, Grandma Dot, and Hope entered the room, the meeting was emotional, but also tense. Miriam stood up and walked directly to Arthur. "Are you Arthur?" she asked. "I am," he replied, clearly nervous. To everyone's surprise, Miriam hugged him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for taking care of my daughter. Thank you for giving her love when I wasn't there." Arthur was moved. "She gave love to us. Lily changed our lives for the better." Miriam then turned to Valerie. "And you're the older sister she talked so much about?" Valerie smiled shyly. Yes. Lily taught me how to be a better sister." "And you," Miriam turned to Grandma Dot, "are the grandma she saved. That's me, and your daughter is the bravest child I've ever met." For the next 2 hours, the adults talked while Lily played in the clinic's garden, visible through the windows. Miriam wanted to know everything about the life her daughter had built, and gradually she understood that Lily had not only survived, she had thrived, created deep bonds, and become part of a family that loved her unconditionally. "I have a proposal," said Dr. Moore, who had observed all the interactions carefully. "Miriam, you are stable enough to be discharged and start an outside life, but you still need regular follow-up and a supportive environment." "What are you suggesting?" Miriam asked. "Lily has found a family that works, that loves her, and where she feels safe. You could consider being part of this extended family rather than trying to rebuild a completely new and separate life." Miriam looked out the window, watching Lily show Valerie flowers in the garden. "How would that work?" "Initially, you could move to Cascade Falls," Hope suggested. "There's a house available for rent near ours. You and Lily could have time together every day, but she would maintain the stability of sleeping in an environment she already knows and trusts." "And when I'm completely well?" Miriam asked. "Then you decide together," Arthur said. "If Lily wants to live with you, we'll adapt. If she wants to divide her time between the two houses, we'll adapt too. The important thing is that she feels loved and safe." Miriam was silent for a long moment. "Would you do that? Would you accept me as part of your lives?" "Of course," Valerie replied immediately. "Lily loves you, and we love Lily. That makes us family too." At that moment, Lily came running back into the room. "Mom, did you see the flowers outside? They're the same as the ones we used to plant in our garden before." "Yes, my love," Miriam replied, hugging her daughter. "And you know what else? I'm going to be able to plant flowers with you again." "How?" "Because I'm going to live near you, near Daddy Arthur, Valerie, and Grandma Dot. We're going to be a big family." Lily's face lit up with the most radiant smile any of them had ever seen. "A real family, with everyone together?" "With everyone together," Miriam confirmed, but while everyone celebrated the prospect of a happy resolution, an unexpected discovery was being made back in Cascade Falls. In the house where the criminal operation was based, investigators had found documents that would reveal an even deeper connection between Grandma Dot and Lily's case. A connection that would once again change everyone's fate. Hope's phone rang just as they were leaving the clinic. It was Detective Cook, with news that none of them expected to hear. "Hope," he said, his voice tense, "I need you to come back to Cascade Falls immediately. We found something in Ms. Crane's documents that changes everything we thought we knew about this case." "What did you find?" she asked, putting the phone on speakerphone so everyone could hear. "Documents proving that Grandma Dot isn't just a victim in this story. She's the reason it all started." The trip back to Cascade Falls was tense and silent. Grandma Dot was visibly shaken by Detective Cook's call, repeatedly denying any knowledge of what the investigators might have found. Miriam, who had decided to accompany them after receiving a temporary medical discharge, held Lily in her arms, trying to protect her from yet another traumatic turn of events. "Grandma Dot," Lily said finally, breaking the silence, "what does it mean that you're the reason everything started?" "I don't know, my dear," Grandma Dot replied, her hands visibly trembling. I really don't know. When they arrived at the Cascade Falls police station, they were led directly to the meeting room where Detective Cook was waiting with a stack of documents spread across the table. His expression was grave, and there were 2 other investigators present. Before we start, the detective said, I want to make it clear that Grandma Dot is not being charged with any crime, but the information we found significantly changes our understanding of the events. What information? Hope asked, assuming her professional lawyer stance. The detective picked up a yellowed folder and removed an old birth certificate. This is Ms. Crane's original birth certificate. Mother's name, Dulcina Ferreira dos Santos. A deafening silence filled the room. Grandma Dot paled completely, her hands flying to cover her mouth. That can't be right, she stammered. Ms. dos Santos, the detective said gently, is Ms. Crane your daughter? No. The answer came quickly and desperately. My daughter's name was Clara, not Ms. Crane, and she left us 15 years ago. Clara dos Santos, the detective read from another document, changed her name to Ms. Crane when she came of age, and according to these records, she never left the area. She's been here the whole time. Lily looked confused from her mother to Grandma Dot. Ms. Crane is Grandma Dot's daughter. Apparently, yes, Arthur replied, still processing the shocking information. But that means... Miriam couldn't finish the sentence. It means, the detective continued, that the criminal operation wasn't just using Dos Santos's property. It was being run by her own daughter. Grandma Dot burst into tears. Clara was always problematic since she was little. She lied, manipulated, hurt animals. We tried to help her, took her to doctors, psychologists, but she only got worse. What happened 15 years ago? Hope asked. She tried to hurt David when he was a baby. I found her holding a pillow over his face. When I confronted her, she said she was just playing, but there was something in her eyes. Grandma Dot trembled at the memory. My husband and I decided she couldn't live with us anymore. You kicked her out of the house? We offered treatment, hospitalization, anything, but she refused everything. She said she didn't need help, that we were the ones who didn't understand her. One night, she simply disappeared. She left a note saying she never wanted to see us again. And you never had contact again? Never. I even thought she might have left the area. Maybe be dead. Grandma Dot looked directly at Lily. My dear, I swear I didn't know it was her running that thing on my property. I believe you, Lily said immediately. Ms. Crane was too clever to hide things. She fooled everyone. The detective picked up another set of documents. There's more. We found correspondence between Ms. Crane and David dating back 3 years. She specifically sought him out because she discovered he had financial problems. What do you mean? David asked, who was being questioned in another room and had been brought in to hear this part. Your sister, because technically Ms. Crane is your aunt, was planning this for a long time. She knew about the property, knew about your addictions, and knew that Grandma Dot trusted you. It was an elaborate manipulation from the start. David went pale. She contacted me. She said she was a businesswoman who wanted to rent the property. She never mentioned she knew our family. And there are even more revelations, the detective continued, pulling out a different folder. Ms. Crane kept detailed records not only of the children she exploited, but also of their backgrounds. And Lily, or rather Miriam, everyone turned to the girl, who instinctively clung tighter to her mother. What about Lily? Miriam asked, her voice protective. Ms. Crane knew exactly who she was from the beginning. She knew she was the daughter of a woman in an institution, knew there were no close relatives looking for her. She chose Lily specifically because she was invisible to the system. But why keep such detailed records if it incriminated her? Arthur asked. Because, the detective picked up one last document, she was documenting everything to eventually blackmail her own mother. Blackmail how? Grandma Dot asked, confused. We have here a detailed plan where Ms. Crane intended to reveal to you that she was saving abandoned children, including a specific one that you would personally save, Lily. She would orchestrate a situation where you would find Lily in danger and rescue her, creating an emotional bond. For what? Hope asked. To then reveal her identity and demand forgiveness and reconciliation, using Lily as emotional collateral. If Grandma Dot rejected her again, she would threaten to hurt the child. The complexity and cruelty of the plan horrified everyone. Ms. Crane had manipulated not only David and the property situation, but had specifically orchestrated the meeting between Lily and Grandma Dot as part of a larger scheme of revenge against her mother. So, Lily processed slowly. Ms. Crane wanted me to meet Grandma Dot. Not exactly the way it happened, the detective explained. She probably planned for David to hurt Grandma Dot just enough for her to need care, and then you would appear as a savior that she would send. But I really saved Grandma Dot, Lily said, confused. And no one sent me to do it. Exactly, Arthur said, understanding. Ms. Crane's plan depended on manipulation and lies, but what really happened was genuine love and real courage. The irony, Hope added, is that Ms. Crane created the circumstances that led to her own destruction. If she hadn't manipulated David, if she hadn't put Lily in that position, we never would have uncovered the operation. Grandma Dot stood up slowly and walked to Lily. My dear heroine, you saved not only my life, you saved my soul from the evil that my own daughter created. Grandma Dot, Lily said, holding the elderly woman's hand. It's not your fault what your daughter did. Sometimes people choose to be bad, even when they have a good family. The simple wisdom of a 6-year-old touched everyone present deeply. And now, Miriam asked, what happens to Ms. Crane? Ms. Crane is in jail and will be tried for multiple crimes, the detective replied. And thanks to Lily's testimony and the evidence we've collected, we have a solid case against the entire network. What about the other children? Valerie asked. All have been rescued and are receiving proper care. Some have already been reunited with their families. Others are being placed in appropriate foster homes. Including John and Mary? Lily asked anxiously. Including John and Mary. In fact, the detective smiled for the first time. They're here at the station now, asking to see you. Lily's face lit up. Can I see them? Of course you can. When John and Mary entered the room, the reunion was heartwarming. The two children ran to hug Lily, telling her how kind the police had been and how they were now in a safe place where they received 3 meals a day. Lily, said Mary, a 5-year-old girl with curly hair, you kept your promise. You came back to save us. I said I would come back, Lily replied simply, and now we're all going to have real families. Observing this interaction, Grandma Dot made a decision that surprised everyone. Detective, she said, I want to formalize something. I want to allocate my property entirely to the creation of a foster home for vulnerable children. A place where they can feel safe and loved while awaiting adoption or family reunification. Grandma Dot, David protested, that's your entire inheritance? No, my grandson, she replied firmly. This is my redemption. What my daughter used for evil, I will transform into something good. Lily looked around the room, seeing all the people who had become her family, Arthur and Valerie, who had taken her in when she needed it, Grandma Dot, who had become her grandmother at heart, Hope, who had fought for her rights, Miriam, her mother, who she had found again, and now John and Mary, who she had saved. You know, she said thoughtfully, I think sometimes bad things happen so that very good things can happen later. And perhaps she was right. Because from all the tragedies and suffering she had faced, something beautiful was emerging, an expanded family, a project that would help other children and proof that love and courage always conquer evil. But Lily's story still had one more surprise in store, one that would finally bring complete peace to everyone involved. 3 months later, life in Cascade Falls had completely transformed. The house where the criminal operation had been based was being renovated to become the Little Jesus Home, a name chosen by Lily in honor of the approaching Christmas, the first festive date she would spend with her reunited family. Miriam had moved to a small house 2 blocks from Arthur's residence, allowing her and Lily to spend time together every day while maintaining the stability that the girl had found with her adoptive family. The arrangement was working better than anyone had expected. That December morning, Lily woke up before dawn, as she always did when she was anxious. Today was a special day, the official opening of the foster home, and also the day when something very important would be decided. "Daddy Arthur," she said, entering his and Valerie's room, who had insisted on sharing the room with her father so that Lily could have her own space, "do you think everything will be okay today?" Arthur smiled, pulling her onto the bed where he was having breakfast. "I'm sure it will, little one. Are you nervous?" "A little bit," she admitted. "What if the judge decides that I can't stay with you and Mom at the same time? Then we'll fight until we find a solution," said Valerie, who had matured a lot in recent months. "We're a family, and families don't give up on each other." An hour later, they were all gathered at the Cascade Falls County Clerk's office for the hearing that would legally define Lily's future. The responsible judge, Dr. Marcia Fernandez, had come especially from Santa Maria to conduct the process. Present were Arthur, Valerie, Miriam, Grandma Dot, now fully recovered, Hope as legal representative, and even David, who had served his sentence in a halfway house and was now volunteering on the foster home project. "Ms. Miriam da Silva," the judge said formally, "or Lily, as you prefer to be called, this is a very special case. We rarely see a situation where a child has so many people willing to care for her with genuine love." Lily was sitting on a high chair between Arthur and Miriam, swinging her legs nervously. "Your Honor," Hope said, "our proposal is a non-traditional shared custody arrangement, where Lily will maintain legal ties with both her biological mother and the Hayes family, who have demonstrated exemplary care during the child's most vulnerable period." "Miss Lily," the judge addressed the girl directly, "do you understand what's happening here today?" "Yes, I understand," Lily replied in her clear voice. "You're going to decide if I can have 2 families at the same time. And is that what you want?" "Very much. I love my blood mom, and I love my heart family. Why would I have to choose?" The simplicity of the answer drew smiles from everyone present, including the judge. "Ms. da Silva," the judge addressed the biological mother, "are you comfortable with this arrangement? Do you not feel like you are dividing your daughter?" Miriam took a deep breath before answering. "Your Honor, for 2 years I believed I had lost my daughter forever. When I found her again, I discovered that she wasn't just alive. She was loved, cared for, and had become an amazing person thanks to the people who took her in when I couldn't do it." She looked at Arthur and Valerie with gratitude. "Dividing my daughter with people who love her is not a loss. It's a gain. Lily now has more love in her life than any child could dream of." "Mr. Hayes," the judge turned to him, "and you? Are you prepared for the legal and emotional responsibilities of being an adoptive father to a child who also has a present biological mother?" "Valerie and I have already considered Lily our daughter and sister for months," Arthur replied. "Formalizing this legally only recognizes what already exists in our hearts, and having Miriam as part of our extended family only makes everything richer." "And you, Valerie, how do you feel about officially gaining a sister?" Valerie smiled, looking at Lily affectionately. "Lily taught me what a real family means. She taught me that love has no limits, that courage has no age, and that forgiving is stronger than holding a grudge. I want to be the best older sister she can have." The judge made some notes and then addressed Grandma Dot. "Ms. Dos Santos, are you also part of this chosen family?" "I am, Your Honor. Lily saved my life, and now we save each other every day. She's my granddaughter at heart, and her happiness is my priority." "Very well," said the judge, organizing the papers on the table. "Before making my decision, There is an additional matter that needs to be addressed. Lily, would you like to officially change your name to Lily, keeping Miriam as your middle name? Lily's eyes widened. Can I really? You can. Lily Miriam da Silva Hayes. Maintaining the connection with your biological family and recognizing your adoptive family. I want to, she exclaimed immediately. That way I'm myself, but I'm also from both families. The judge smiled and banged the gavel. Then I decree shared custody between Miriam da Silva and Arthur Hayes, with Lily Miriam da Silva Hayes maintaining primary residence with the Hayes family and daily contact with her biological mother. May this unconventional family be an example that love builds bridges where the world sees only obstacles. The county clerk's office erupted in tears of joy and hugs. Lily ran from person to person, hugging each of her official family members. Now, she said between happy tears, let's open the home for the other children. An hour later, they were all at Grandma Dot's property, which had been completely transformed. The main house had become a welcoming environment with individual rooms for 8 children, a study room, a library, and a commercial kitchen where meals were prepared with care. The old house where the criminal operation had been based had been demolished, and in its place was built a playground with swings, seesaws, and a vegetable garden where the children could learn to plant their own food. "Welcome to the little Jesus home," announced Grandma Dot to the small group of guests that included local authorities, journalists, and some families from the community. "This place was born of pain, but it will be a place of joy and hope." 5 children were already living in the home, including John and Mary, who had adapted perfectly and were already attending the local school. When they saw Lily arrive for the opening, they ran to hug her. "Lily! Lily!" Mary shouted excitedly. "Look at my room. It has a bed all to myself and a bookshelf for the books Aunt Hope gave me. And mine has a window that overlooks the garden," added John. "I've already planted carrots." Lily visited the home twice a week, always bringing drawings to decorate the walls and stories to tell at bedtime. She had become a kind of older sister to all the children in care. "You know," she said to John and Mary while they played in the playground, "one day you'll also have families forever, like I do." "How do you know?" Mary asked. "Because I've learned that when you're brave and kind, the universe conspires to give you a family. It may take time, it may be different from what you imagined, but it always happens." During the opening ceremony, hope took the floor. This project would not exist without a 6-year-old girl who decided that saving a life was more important than her own safety. Lily taught us that heroes come in all sizes, and that courage is doing the right thing even when you're afraid. "And she taught us," added Arthur, "that family is not about blood or papers. It's about choosing to love each other every day, even when it's difficult." As the sun set over Cascade Falls, painting the sky in rosy tones that reflected in the city's famous waterfalls, Lily was sitting on the playground swing, surrounded by all the people she loved. Miriam was pushing her swing gently, while Arthur and Valerie talked with Grandma Dot about plans to expand the home in the coming year. Hope was documenting everything for the legal reports, but also taking personal photos of the family she had helped create. "Mom," Lily said to Miriam, "are you happy?" "Happier than I ever thought I could be again," Miriam replied honestly. "And you?" Lily looked around, seeing all the children playing in the playground that had been built where before there was only suffering, hearing the laughter that echoed where before there was only crying, and feeling the love that surrounded her from all sides. "I'm complete," she said simply. "I have everything I've always wanted. A big family, safe children, and a place where I can help other people." At that moment, as Lily's first Christmas with her reunited family approached, she knew she had found more than a family. She had found her purpose, and that sometimes the most beautiful stories begin in the most difficult moments. But there was still one last surprise waiting for her, one that would close the circle of her journey in a way that none of them could have foreseen. 6 months after the opening of the Little Jesus home, a letter arrived addressed to Lily da Silva Hayes in the Cascade Falls Mail. The sender was unknown. Carlos Henrique Ferreira, capital city, the state. Arthur brought the mail home intrigued, calling Lily to open it with him. "Who could this Carlos Henrique be?" Lily asked, turning the envelope in her small hands. "I have no idea," Arthur replied. "Do you want me to open it first to check if it's something appropriate?" Lily shook her head. "No, I want to open it myself. I've been through things much worse than a letter." Carefully, she tore open the envelope and took out 2 handwritten sheets in careful handwriting. She began to read aloud. "Dear Lily, my name is Carlos Enrique Ferreira, but you probably only know me as the man who photographed the children at Ms. Crane's house. I am writing this letter from prison, where I am serving my sentence for the crimes I committed." Arthur tensed immediately. "Lily, maybe it's better if I read the rest first." "No, Dad," she said, using the term naturally. "I want to hear what he has to say." She continued reading. "I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, nor to cause you any more suffering. But there is something I recently discovered that I believe you have the right to know. During the 2 years you were at Ms. Crane's house, I photographed all the children who passed through there. It was part of the criminal system, and I am deeply ashamed of it." Lily paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. "But when I started my therapy in prison, I reviewed all these photographs as part of my process of repentance and reparation. It was then that I noticed something that changed everything. In several of the photos, you are protecting other, smaller children, sharing your food, comforting those who cried, and in one specific photo, you are teaching a little girl to write her name in the dirt." "What girl?" Lily murmured, trying to remember. "That girl was Amanda Ferreira, my daughter." The silence that followed was profound. Arthur and Lily looked at each other, trying to process this unexpected revelation. "My daughter had disappeared 3 years ago," the letter continued. "He was dependent on manipulation and lies, but what really happened was genuine love and real courage. Ms. Crane's plan depended on manipulation and lies, but what really happened was genuine love and real courage. The irony," Hope added, "is that Ms. Crane created the circumstances that led to her own destruction. If she hadn't manipulated David, if she hadn't put Lily in that position, we never would have uncovered the operation." Grandma Dot stood up slowly and walked to Lily. "My dear heroine, you saved not only my life, you saved my soul from the evil that my own daughter created." "Grandma Dot," Lily said, holding the elderly woman's hand, "it's not your fault what your daughter did. Sometimes people choose to be bad, even when they have a good family." The simple wisdom of a 6-year-old touched everyone present deeply. "And now," Miriam asked, "what happens to Ms. Crane?" "Ms. Crane is in jail and will be tried for multiple crimes," the detective replied. "And thanks to Lily's testimony and the evidence we've collected, we have a solid case against the entire network." "What about the other children?" Valerie asked. "All have been rescued and are receiving proper care. Some have already been reunited with their families. Others are being placed in appropriate foster homes." "Including John and Mary?" Lily asked anxiously. "Including John and Mary. In fact," the detective smiled for the first time, "they're here at the station now, asking to see you." Lily's face lit up. "Can I see them?" "Of course you can." When John and Mary entered the room, the reunion was heartwarming. The 2 children ran to hug Lily, telling her how kind the police had been and how they were now in a safe place where they received 3 meals a day. "Lily," said Mary, a 5-year-old girl with curly hair, "you kept your promise. You came back to save us." "I said I would come back," Lily replied simply, "and now we're all going to have real families." Observing this interaction, Grandma Dot made a decision that surprised everyone. "Detective," she said, "I want to formalize something. I want to allocate my property entirely to the creation of a foster home for vulnerable children, a place where they can feel safe and loved while awaiting adoption or family reunification. Grandma Dot, David protested, that's your entire inheritance? No, my grandson, she replied firmly, this is my redemption. What my daughter used for evil, I will transform into something good. Lily looked around the room, seeing all the people who had become her family, Arthur and Valerie, who had taken her in when she needed it, Grandma Dot, who had become her grandmother at heart, Hope, who had fought for her rights, Miriam, her mother, who she had found again, and now John and Mary, who she had saved. You know, she said thoughtfully, I think sometimes bad things happen so that very good things can happen later. And perhaps she was right. Because from all the tragedies and suffering she had faced, something beautiful was emerging, an expanded family, a project that would help other children and proof that love and courage always conquer evil. But Lily's story still had one more surprise in store, one that would finally bring complete peace to everyone involved. 3 months later, life in Cascade Falls had completely transformed. The house where the criminal operation had been based was being renovated to become the Little Jesus Home, a name chosen by Lily in honor of the approaching Christmas, the first festive date she would spend with her reunited family. Miriam had moved to a small house 2 blocks from Arthur's residence, allowing her and Lily to spend time together every day while maintaining the stability that the girl had found with her adoptive family. The arrangement was working better than anyone had expected. That December morning, Lily woke up before dawn, as she always did when she was anxious. Today was a special day, the official opening of the foster home, and also the day when something very important would be decided. Daddy Arthur, she said, entering his and Valerie's room, who had insisted on sharing the room with her father so that Lily could have her own space. Do you think everything will be okay today? Arthur smiled, pulling her onto the bed where he was having breakfast. I'm sure it will, little one. Are you nervous? A little bit, she admitted. What if the judge decides that I can't stay with you and Mom at the same time? Then we'll fight until we find a solution, said Valerie, who had matured a lot in recent months. We're a family, and families don't give up on each other. An hour later, they were all gathered at the Cascade Falls County Clerk's office for the hearing that would legally define Lily's future. The responsible judge, Dr. Marcia Fernandez, had come especially from Santa Maria to conduct the process. Present were Arthur, Valerie, Miriam, Grandma Dot, now fully recovered, Hope as legal representative, and even David, who had served his sentence in a halfway house and was now volunteering on the foster home project. Ms. Miriam da Silva, the judge said formally, or Lily, as you prefer to be called, this is a very special case. We rarely see a situation where a child has so many people willing to care for her with genuine love. Lily was sitting on a high chair between Arthur and Miriam, swinging her legs nervously. Your Honor, Hope said, our proposal is a non-traditional shared custody arrangement, where Lily will maintain legal ties with both her biological mother and the Hayes family, who have demonstrated exemplary care during the child's most vulnerable period. Miss Lily, the judge addressed the girl directly. Do you understand what's happening here today? Yes, I understand, Lily replied in her clear voice. You're going to decide if I can have 2 families at the same time. And is that what you want? Very much. I love my blood mom, and I love my heart family. Why would I have to choose? The simplicity of the answer drew smiles from everyone present, including the judge. Ms. da Silva, the judge addressed the biological mother. Are you comfortable with this arrangement? Do you not feel like you are dividing your daughter? Miriam took a deep breath before answering. Your Honor, for 2 years I believed I had lost my daughter forever. When I found her again, I discovered that she wasn't just alive. She was loved, cared for, and had become an amazing person thanks to the people who took her in when I couldn't do it. She looked at Arthur and Valerie with gratitude. Dividing my daughter with people who love her is not a loss, it's a gain. Lily now has more love in her life than any child could dream of. Mr. Hayes, the judge turned to him. And you? Are you prepared for the legal and emotional responsibilities of being an adoptive father to a child who also has a present biological mother? Valerie and I have already considered Lily our daughter and sister for months, Arthur replied. Formalizing this legally only recognizes what already exists in our hearts, and having Miriam as part of our extended family only makes everything richer. And you, Valerie, how do you feel about officially gaining a sister? Valerie smiled, looking at Lily affectionately. Lily taught me what a real family means. She taught me that love has no limits, that courage has no age, and that forgiving is stronger than holding a grudge. I want to be the best older sister she can have. The judge made some notes and then addressed Grandma Dot. Ms. Dos Santos, are you also part of this chosen family? I am, Your Honor. Lily saved my life, and now we save each other every day. She's my granddaughter at heart, and her happiness is my priority. Very well, said the judge, organizing the papers on the table. Before making my decision, there is an additional matter that needs to be addressed. Lily, would you like to officially change your name to Lily, keeping Miriam as your middle name? Lily's eyes widened. Can I really? You can. Lily Miriam da Silva Hayes. Maintaining the connection with your biological family and recognizing your adoptive family. I want to, she exclaimed immediately. That way I'm myself, but I'm also from both families. The judge smiled and banged the gavel. Then I decree shared custody between Miriam da Silva and Arthur Hayes, with Lily Miriam da Silva Hayes maintaining primary residence with the Hayes family and daily contact with her biological mother. May this unconventional family be an example that love builds bridges where the world sees only obstacles. The county clerk's office erupted in tears of joy and hugs. Lily ran from person to person, hugging each of her official family members. Now, she said between happy tears, let's open the home for the other children. An hour later, they were all at Grandma Dot's property, which had been completely transformed. The main house had become a welcoming environment with individual rooms for 8 children, a study room, a library, and a commercial kitchen where meals were prepared with care. The old house where the criminal operation had been based had been demolished, and in its place was built a playground with swings, seesaws, and a vegetable garden where the children could learn to plant their own food. Welcome to the little Jesus home, announced Grandma Dot to the small group of guests that included local authorities, journalists, and some families from the community. This place was born of pain, but it will be a place of joy and hope. 5 children were already living in the home, including John and Mary, who had adapted perfectly and were already attending the local school. When they saw Lily arrive for the opening, they ran to hug her. Lily! Lily! Mary shouted excitedly. Look at my room. It has a bed all to myself and a bookshelf for the books Aunt Hope gave me. And mine has a window that overlooks the garden, added John. I've already planted carrots. Lily visited the home twice a week, always bringing drawings to decorate the walls and stories to tell at bedtime. She had become a kind of older sister to all the children in care. You know, she said to John and Mary while they played in the playground, one day you'll also have families forever, like I do. How do you know? Mary asked. Because I've learned that when you're brave and kind, the universe conspires to give you a family. It may take time, it may be different from what you imagined, but it always happens. During the opening ceremony, Hope took the floor. This project would not exist without a 6-year-old girl who decided that saving a life was more important than her own safety. Lily taught us that heroes come in all sizes, and that courage is doing the right thing even when you're afraid. And she taught us, added Arthur, that family is not about blood or papers. It's about choosing to love each other every day, even when it's difficult. As the sun set over Cascade Falls, painting the sky in rosy tones that reflected in the city's famous waterfalls, Lily was sitting on the playground swing, surrounded by all the people she loved. Miriam was pushing her swing gently, while Arthur and Valerie talked with Grandma Dot about plans to expand the home in the coming year. Hope was documenting everything for the legal reports, but also taking personal photos of the family she had helped create. "Mom," Lily said to Miriam, "are you happy?" "Happier than I ever thought I could be again," Miriam replied honestly. "And you?" Lily looked around, seeing all the children playing in the playground that had been built where before there was only suffering, hearing the laughter that echoed where before there was only crying, and feeling the love that surrounded her from all sides. "I'm complete," she said simply. "I have everything I've always wanted. A big family, safe children, and a place where I can help other people." At that moment, as Lily's first Christmas with her reunited family approached, she knew she had found more than a family. She had found her purpose, and that sometimes the most beautiful stories begin in the most difficult moments. But there was still one last surprise waiting for her, one that would close the circle of her journey in a way that none of them could have foreseen. 6 months after the opening of the little Jesus home, a letter arrived addressed to Lily da Silva Hayes in the Cascade Falls mail. The sender was unknown. Carlos Henrique Ferreira, capital city, the state. Arthur brought the mail home intrigued, calling Lily to open it with him. "Who could this Carlos Henrique be?" Lily asked, turning the envelope in her small hands. "I have no idea," Arthur replied. "Do you want me to open it first to check if it's something appropriate?" Lily shook her head. "No, I want to open it myself. I've been through things much worse than a letter." Carefully, she tore open the envelope and took out 2 handwritten sheets in careful handwriting. She began to read aloud. "Dear Lily, my name is Carlos Enrique Ferreira, but you probably only know me as the man who photographed the children at Ms. Crane's house. I am writing this letter from prison, where I am serving my sentence for the crimes I committed." Arthur tensed immediately. "Lily, maybe it's better if I read the rest first." "No, Dad," she said, using the term naturally. "I want to hear what he has to say." She continued reading. "I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, nor to cause you any more suffering. But there is something I recently discovered that I believe you have the right to know. During the 2 years you were at Ms. Crane's house, I photographed all the children who passed through there. It was part of the criminal system, and I am deeply ashamed of it." Lily paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. "But when I started my therapy in prison, I reviewed all these photographs as part of my process of repentance and reparation. It was then that I noticed something that changed everything. In several of the photos, you are protecting other, smaller children, sharing your food, comforting those who cried, and in one specific photo, you are teaching a little girl to write her name in the dirt." "What girl?" Lily murmured, trying to remember. "That girl was Amanda Ferreira, my daughter." The silence that followed was profound. Arthur and Lily looked at each other, trying to process this unexpected revelation. "My daughter had disappeared 3 years ago," the letter continued. "I was desperate, looking for her everywhere. That's how Ms. Crane found me. She knew I was a professional photographer and said she could help me find Amanda if I provided some services for her." "He was fooled too," Lily said thoughtfully. "I agreed to take the photographs, believing I was paying to have information about my daughter. Only later did I discover that Amanda was there all along and that I was documenting her suffering without knowing it." Lily continued reading, her voice becoming more emotional. "Lily, you cared for my daughter for months. In the photographs, I see you sharing your shoes with her when hers were torn, teaching her to hide when visitors arrived, and always putting her to sleep before you yourself rested." "I remember Amanda," Lily said suddenly. "She was very small, had very light hair, and always cried softly at night. I sang her the song my mother sang to me. In the last photo I have of you two together, the reading continued, Amanda is smiling for the first time in months, looking at you with complete admiration. You had made her a rag doll with pieces of fabric you found. Tears began to stream down Lily's face. What happened to her? Does the letter say? Amanda was adopted by a wonderful family in Gramado, and she is recovered and happy. But she never stopped talking about the girl who took care of her, and who knew how to do magic with anything. Arthur smiled, despite the seriousness of the situation. It seems you were already saving children even when you were a child yourself. The family that adopted Amanda learned about your story through the newspapers after the rescue of the children, the letter continued. They would very much like to meet you, if you are willing. Amanda draws you constantly, always as an angel with wings protecting other children. She wants to see me, Lily asked, emotional. Lily, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that your kindness saved my daughter in ways that go beyond physical protection. You taught her that there was still love in the world, even in the darkest place she knew. The letter ended with, if one day you can forgive a desperate father who made terrible choices trying to save his daughter, I will spend the rest of my life working to ensure that no child goes through what you and Amanda went through. With eternal gratitude and deep regret, Carlos Henrique Ferreira. Lily folded the letter carefully and was silent for a few minutes, processing everything. What are you thinking, little one? Arthur asked gently. I'm thinking that I want to see Amanda, she said finally, and I also want to write to her father. Write what? That I forgive him, because he was also suffering, and sometimes people who suffer do bad things trying to stop the suffering. Arthur hugged Lily tightly. You have an amazing heart. Do we know that? I learned it from you, she replied simply. A week later, Carlos Henrique received a reply, dictated by Lily and written by Valerie in the most careful handwriting she could manage. Hi, Mr. Carlos. I remember Amanda, and I remember you too. You were the sad man who always looked through the cameras as if you were looking for something. Now I know you were looking for your daughter. I forgive you because I know that parents do crazy things to protect their children. My daddy Arthur said he would do anything to keep me safe, and I believe him. Amanda was always very scared, but she was very brave too. She taught me to braid hair, and I taught her to count stars through the small window in our room. I really want to see her again. My family said we can travel to Gramado if her new family agrees. I want to see if she still remembers the song I sang to her to sleep. Thank you for telling me that she is well and happy. That's what I most wanted to know about all the children I met at Ms. Crane's house. You don't need to feel guilty forever. Sometimes good people do bad things when they are afraid. The important thing is that now you want to do good things. With friendship, Lily da Silva Hayes P.S. My sister Valerie told me to tell you that in our foster home, there is always room for people who want to help real children. When you get out of prison, you can come meet us if you want. 2 weeks later, Lily's extended family, including Arthur, Valerie, Miriam, Grandma Dot, and even Hope, traveled to Gramado in a van rented especially for the occasion. The reunion with Amanda was scheduled to take place in a city park. In a neutral and cheerful environment, Amanda arrived accompanied by her adoptive parents, Sandra and Roberto Oliveira, a couple in their 40s who could not have biological children and had fallen in love with the girl during the adoption process. She was visibly nervous, hiding behind her adoptive mother. Amanda, said Sandra gently, remember we told you about the special girl who took care of you? Amanda peeked out from behind her mother and saw Lily walking slowly towards her. For a moment, the two girls studied each other, one of 7 years now, well-dressed and clearly loved, and another of 6.5 years, also loved, but with the eyes of someone who had seen much of the world. Lily? Amanda said timidly. Hi, Amanda, Lily replied with a huge smile. You've grown. You too. Amanda came out from behind her mother and ran to hug Lily. I thought I would never see you again. I thought so too. But look, now we both have real families. The two girls sat on a park bench and talked for an hour, recalling the good moments they had shared even in the most difficult place, and telling each other about their new lives. Lily, said Amanda before saying goodbye, do you still sing that song? I still sing it. Do you want to hear it? Amanda nodded, and Lily sang the same lullaby that her mother Miriam had sung to her, that she had sung to Amanda at Miss Crane's house, and that she now sang to the children at the little Jesus home. When the song ended, Amanda took Lily's hand. Thank you for taking care of me when I needed it. Thank you for letting me take care of you, Lily replied. It was you who taught me that I could be brave. Amanda's adoptive parents approached Arthur and Miriam. We want you to know, said Roberto, that there will always be a place in our family for Lily. You are all welcome whenever you want to visit. And if you ever need anything, added Sandra, we're family now. Extended family, but family. During the trip back to Cascade Falls, Lily was quieter than usual, looking out the van window. Is everything okay, my love? Miriam asked. I'm thinking, Lily replied, about how funny it is how things work. How so? Valerie asked. I suffered a lot at Miss Crane's house, but that's where I learned to take care of other people. And it was taking care of Amanda that I discovered that I want to help children forever. And now? Arthur asked. Now I know what my job is when I grow up, Lily said with determination. I'm going to become a social worker like Hope to help children find families. And I'm also going to work at our home so that all the children who arrive there know they are loved. Grandma Dot, who had been quiet throughout the trip, smiled. My dear granddaughter, you're already doing that work. You'll just make it official when you grow up. As the van continued along the roads of the countryside, carrying a family that had been formed in an unconventional but genuinely loving way, Lily knew that she had found not only her place in the world, but also her purpose. And that sometimes the most beautiful stories are those that begin with suffering but end with multiplied love. 2 years had passed since the reunion with Amanda, and Christmas of 2026 was coming to Cascade Falls with a special meaning. Lily, now 8.5 years old, had become not only a happy and safe girl, but also a small leader in her community. The Little Jesus Home had expanded and now housed 15 children, all cared for by a dedicated team that included Hope as legal coordinator and David as a social educator. On the morning of December 23rd, Lily woke up early as always, but this time for a very special reason. It was the day of the home's big Christmas celebration, but it was also the day when a surprise that she had been planning for months would finally materialize. Mom, Miriam, she called, running to her biological mother's house where she used to have breakfast 3 times a week. The day has arrived. Miriam, who now worked as an administrative assistant at the home and was completely recovered, smiled at her daughter's excitement. Yes, my love, it has. Are you sure you want to do this? I'm absolutely sure, Lily replied, her eyes shining with determination. It's the most important Christmas present I can give. An hour later, the whole family was gathered in the living room of Arthur and Valerie's house, who was now studying education at university and dreamed of being a teacher at the home when she graduated. Grandma Dot was there too, at 80 years old, still vibrant and active as president of the foundation that managed the home. Okay, said Lily, standing in the center of the room with the solemnity of someone who is about to make an important announcement. You know that I've been thinking a lot about our family and about everything that has happened. We know, said Arthur, curious to know what his daughter had planned. And you know that I love all of you more than anything in the world, each one in a special way. We know that too, said Valerie, smiling. So I've made a decision. I want our family to be officially complete. What do you mean, little one? Grandma Dot asked. Lily took a deep breath and went to the table where she had left some papers. I talked to Hope, and she explained to me that when a person is adopted, They can choose to do the adoption back. Everyone was confused. Adoption back? Miriam asked. It's when the adopted child officially adopts their parents too. It's symbolic, but it can be done at the county clerk's office, Lily explained. And I want to adopt all of you as my official family. The silence that followed was of pure emotion. Tears began to appear in the eyes of all the adults. Lily, Arthur began, but she interrupted him. Daddy, Arthur, you saved me when I needed it most and taught me that there is goodness in the world. I want you to be my dad forever, officially. She turned to Valerie. Sister Valerie, you taught me that family isn't about having the same blood. It's about choosing to love each other every day. I want to be your real sister forever. Then she addressed Miriam. Mom, Miriam, you gave me life and taught me that mothers never give up on their children, even when everything seems lost. I want to be your daughter forever, not only by blood, but by choice too. Finally, she looked at Grandma Dot. Grandma Dot, you taught me that sometimes the most special people in our lives are not relatives, they are angels who appear when we need them. I want you to be my official grandmother forever. Grandma Dot was crying openly now. My dear granddaughter, I'm already your grandmother in every way that matters. I know, said Lily, but I want to make it official. I want that when people ask about my family, I can say, I have a father, mother, sister, and grandmother that I chose myself and that chose me back. Hope, who had arrived just at that moment, smiled from the door. The papers are ready, if you want to sign them. You knew about this? Arthur asked. Lily contacted me 3 months ago, the lawyer explained. She said she wanted to make her family indissoluble. We did all the necessary paperwork. And that's not all, added Lily, taking another paper. I also want to formalize my partnership with the Little Jesus Home. I want that when I turn 18, I automatically become part of the board of directors. Lily, said Grandma Dot, impressed, you're 8 years old and you're already planning your life at 18. Grandma, I've always known what I want to do with my life. I want to take care of children who need families, like you took care of me. And I want it to be official so that no one can ever stop me. Arthur stood up and hugged Lily tightly. Daughter, it will be an honor to be officially adopted by you. For me too, said Valerie, joining the hug. And for me, added Miriam. And for me, finished Grandma Dot. An hour later, they were all at the Cascade Falls County Clerk's office, which had opened especially for them on December 23rd. The same office where, years before, Lily's situation had been legalized, now witnessed something unique, an 8-year-old child officially adopting her chosen family. This is definitely the most special case of my career, said the clerk, preparing the documents. Lily da Silva Hayes, are you sure you want to adopt Arthur Hayes as your father, Valerie Hayes as your sister, Miriam da Silva as your mother, and Dulcina dos Santos as your grandmother? I'm absolutely sure, Lily replied solemnly. And you? Do you accept to be adopted by Lily da Silva Hayes? We accept, they all answered in unison. Then I declare the Silva Hayes family officially formed, united not only by love, but by mutual and conscious choice. When they left the county clerk's office, Lily was radiant. Now, yes, she said, we are an unbreakable family. In the afternoon, the Christmas celebration at the Little Jesus Home was the biggest and most joyful of all. 23 children participated in the party, the 15 who lived in the home, plus John and Mary, who had been adopted by a local family but continued to attend the activities, Amanda and her adoptive parents, who came especially from Gramado, and 5 other children from the community whose families had found support in the home's work. Before we start the supper, announced Lily, standing on a chair to be taller, I want to tell you a story. All the children sat in a circle around her, as they always did when Lily was going to tell her special stories. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who had no family and lived very sadly on the street, she began. One day, this girl saw a grandma in danger and decided to help, even though she was scared. Do you know what happened next? What? Shouted the children in chorus. It happened that by saving the grandma, the girl saved herself too. And she found not one family but several people who loved her. And she discovered that her job in life was to help other children find families too. And the girl was happy ever after? Asked one of the younger children. The girl was happy every day, Lily corrected, because she learned that happiness isn't something that happens all at once. It's something we build every day, taking care of the people we love and helping those in need. And what's the end of the story? Amanda asked. Lily smiled, looking around at all the children and then at her family. The end of the story is that there is no end, because each child who finds a family starts a new story. And each family that welcomes a child also starts a new story. And all these stories come together into a much bigger story, which is the story of love that never ends. That night, after the party, when all the children at the home were sleeping and the family had returned home, Lily asked to stay in the backyard for a few more minutes, looking at the stars. "What are you thinking about, little one?" Arthur asked, joining her on the swing. "I'm thinking that 3 years ago I slept on the street and didn't know if I would have food the next day. And today I have a whole family that loves me, a warm house, and a job that is taking care of other children. And how does that make you feel?" "I feel grateful," she said simply, "and I feel responsible too." Responsible? For using everything I've learned to help other children, for showing them that even when everything seems lost, there is always hope. Arthur hugged his daughter, thinking about how an 8-year-old girl could have so much wisdom and purpose. "Dad," Lily said, "can I tell you a secret?" "Of course." "Sometimes when I'm helping a new child at the home, I remember what it was like when I arrived at our house for the first time. How afraid I was that you would change your minds and send me away. And then I hug the child very tightly and say, 'You're home now, and a real family never gives up.'" That night, as Lily slept peacefully in her bed, the same bed where she had slept her first night with fear and uncertainty, but which was now a symbol of safety and love, Cascade Falls rested under a starry sky that seemed to bless that city where a brave girl had transformed suffering into hope. And in the little Jesus home, 15 children slept safe, each dreaming of the day when they too would find their forever family, inspired by the story of the girl who had proven that heroes can be just 8 years old, and that true love always finds a way to create families where there are only hearts willing to open. Lily's story had become a legend in Cascade Falls, not the legend of a child who had suffered, but the legend of a child who had transformed suffering into strength, fear into courage, and abandonment into the most beautiful of chosen families. And this, finally, was a story with the happiest possible ending, not because the problems had ended, but because a solid foundation of love had been built, from where any future challenge could be faced together.